page 11. Cuckoo, Cheating by Nature, by Nick Davies, 2015. 0.3 Preface, Part 3. Wicken Fen has been my outdoor laboratory for the past 30 years. It might seem obsessive to have studied cuckoos for so long in one place. But each spring I'm as excited as ever by the first cuckoo call of the year, and because a human brain can never hold all the wonderful sights and sounds of the natural world, every summer comes as a fresh surprise. I love the fen in all its moods, the ever-present sound of reeds whispering in the breeze, the succession of flowers through the season, from the pale pinks of ladies' smock that bloom when the first cuckoos arrive in April, to the yellow irises and red marsh orchids in May and June, when cuckoos lay their eggs, to the purple marsh thistles and creamy meadowsweet in July, as adult cuckoos depart for Africa once more. I have tried to convey the excitement of being a curious naturalist in the field, so the atmosphere of the fens looms large. Each year has brought new discoveries, and these, in turn, raise new questions, so the science is refreshed too, and the journey is never-ending. However, our detective work will take us way beyond the fen, to study common cuckoos and their hosts not only throughout the UK, but across Europe to Japan. We will discover that evolutionary change is relentless. In some places, cuckoos are encountering new host species, which are only just beginning to evolve defenses. We will also find isolated populations of hosts that are no longer parasitized and are slowly losing their defenses. These are thrilling examples of evolution in action, a corner of Darwin's entangled bank, where animals and plants are continuously evolving to keep up with the changes in their enemies and competitors. We also travel out to Africa and Australia, in search of other cuckoo species which have been doing battle with their hosts for far longer, and where cuckoo trickery and host defenses are even more intricate. Nature is always a source of surprise and wonder. The story is a human one, too, of our changing perceptions of the natural world, from the bewilderment of those from past centuries who struggled to understand why a creator would produce a creature that lacked any affection for its offspring, to observers now who are fascinated by the outcomes of evolution. We will pay homage to early naturalists whose discoveries laid the foundation for cuckoo studies today. They include Aristotle, who, over 2,300 years ago, already knew that cuckoos laid their eggs in other birds' nests. William Turner from the 16th century, who wrote the first book about birds in Britain. John Ray from the 17th century and Gilbert White from the 18th century, both puzzled by the cuckoo's parasitic habits. White's contemporary Edward Jenner, whose first detailed descriptions of a cuckoo chick evicting host eggs and chicks from the nest were so astonishing that they were widely disbelieved. Charles Darwin, Alfred Russel Wallace and Henry Walter Bates, evolutionary thinkers and brilliant field naturalists from the 19th century. Alfred Newton, from the late 19th century, who wrote about the various races of common cuckoos, each specializing on a particular host species. Edgar Chance, a passionate egg collector from the early 20th century, who was the first to discover how the cuckoo lays her egg. And Charles Swinnerton, another naturalist from the early 20th century, who pioneered studies of cuckoos and their eggs in Africa. These are all heroes, but I feel a special bond with two of them. In 1530, William Turner was elected a Fellow of Pembroke College in Cambridge, the college where I was a student and where I've been a Fellow, too, since 1979. His book on birds, published in 1544, has a peroration to the reader that heralds a change in our view of the natural world, from the unquestioning acceptance of folklore to fresh scientific inquiry. This little book of mine contains within it many more conjectures than sure statements are broken by. It seems to me much more prudent and becoming on a subject that is difficult and not yet sufficiently explored to tread doubtingly and modestly by conjecture, and so to inquire, than to pronounce rashly and immodestly on things undetermined. My concerns about cuckoos are very different from those of Turner, nearly 500 years ago, but I hope his spirit of asking questions of nature and admitting when we don't know all the answers lives on in my book, too. The other person peering over my shoulder as I wrote is Alfred Newton, Professor of Comparative Anatomy at the University of Cambridge. When he died in 1907, he bequeathed his grand old desk to the zoology department, where I have studied and taught for most of my life. I am privileged to have this in my room, and so have written my book at the very same desk on which Newton wrote about cuckoos, over 100 years ago. Today, there are no more first cuckoo letters to the Times. If there were, they would probably be letters remarking on the silence, wondering where all the cuckoos have gone to, for there has been an alarming decline in the last 50 years or so. I hope, by the end of our journey, that the reader will agree with me that their disappearance would be doubly sad. We would lose not only a harbinger of spring, but also some of the most amazing dramas of natural history anywhere on Earth. Page 13.